Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic Wall. It's your girl, the Outcast Angel, and today let's talk about issue 16 of Redneck by Donny Cates, Lisandro Estherren, and Dee Cunniffe. And just what an issue this was. It was, honestly, this is probably one of my favorite issues so far in the series, just because of, well, you'll see right now. Anyway, so let's jump into it. We start off with Seamus. I'm already forgetting names. Seamus, JV, Ingrid, and Becca watching a news broadcast about Evil, or as they call him, Gabriel Evil Villalobos. They describe him as a former Marine with an outstanding and reportedly heavy redacted personal file. Excuse me. Was convicted on multiple counts of manslaughter and a litany of other charges relating to the Waco cult claiming to be vampires. And we see Bartlett's monologue going on, saying, "Living as long as we do and doing the kind of things we tend to do, one might be forgiven for thinking otherwise. But we do not forget our mistakes. No, we bury them, and we move on as best we can." Anyway, JV ends up turning off the TV before they could say what Evil was sentenced to, and he walks off. And Ingrid follows him as he walks outside drinking what looks like Jack Daniels. Anyway, Ingrid walks up to him and says, "John, wait. This man, he worked for you, didn't he? I'm not gonna pry. What happened in Waco has been judged by the Parliament, and it is not my place to kick you when your family is down. But does he need to be silenced?" And JV looks at her, and she says, "JV, if he's a risk to your family, I know, he knows everything about you, and if I'm reading the situation correctly, it appears there's a fair amount of animosity between you two. I'll only ask you once. You needn't do anything but nod." JV says no, and says, "No, we hurt that man enough. He's earned whatever peace he can find." And now we jump to Huntsville State Penitentiary, where we see Evil being escorted into the prison by two uniformed cops. And as he's looking around the chaos and hustle bustle of the prison, he notices three Nazis sitting at a table writing and, I don't know, just doing something. And he notices the pen and pad that one of the Nazis has. So he walks up to him and he points to the pad, indicating that he wants to write something. And so the guy he's talking to ends up saying, "You want to write something? Is that it? Well, why don't you just say so?" And he points to his mouth, saying, like, "I can't talk." And so the Nazi says, "Oh, you can't talk? Well, hell, you deaf folks can eyeball lips, though, right? Here, try this one out." And then the other Nazi kind of grabs him and holds a screwdriver to his face, and he says, "Suck my dick, wetback." Well, anyway, we obviously know Evil's pretty, I guess, he can take care of himself. So he manages to get out of the grip of this guy holding him, and he uses the screwdriver to stab him repeatedly in the face and in his throat. Anyway, this other guy falls dead to the floor, and we see a flash to the cops where one of them's like, "Should we?" And the other one's like, "Nah, fuck Nazis." Exactly. Anyway, Evil picks up a spoon, kicks the main Nazi in the groin, and shoves the screwdriver and the spoon into both of his ears. Oh, jeez. Anyway, he picks up the pen and pad, and we hear the guy saying, "Oh God, fuck, I can't fucking hear shit." And Evil wrote something and shows it to him, saying, "I can hear you just fine." Well, shit. Anyway, we flash back to Greg and Winnie after their little romantic night, and Greg is, I guess, a little sad. I think because he says, "I just want you to know that I know that this doesn't mean that this isn't like a thing or anything." And when he surprised me by saying, "What? Why not?" And Greg is obviously surprised, and he's like, "Greg, calm down. This isn't supposed to be scary." And he is such a cutie. Anyway, he says, "I'm not saying I'm trying to get married here, man. I don't know. There's not that many nice guys around here, and Becca and I have fun. But to be honest, to be super honest, that was always more for her than it was for me, and I like you." Anyway, um, this is interrupted by JV walking into the room and seeing both of them sitting on the bed. Well, shit. And JV closes the door and says, pardon me," and then he walks off. And Winnie and Greg look at each other, and Winnie just starts laughing, and I could not stop laughing at this. It was just too good to see JV, I guess, embarrassed like that. And at first I thought, I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. But this is where my favorite part of this issue came in, where it's like, it surprised the hell out of me. I guess considering the the I guess, I don't know, stereotype of the word redneck, and just the style of story this is, you know. And granted, I know like the Redneck Team has been very, I guess, supportive of the LGBT community, considering that they did do the Pride Month variant for issue 3 back in 2015, I believe. Actually, it was 2016, I believe. Yeah. And I love that issue, that cover. It was just beautiful. Anyway, Greg runs after JV, and he starts saying, "Dad, about what you saw, we can." And JV says, "There's no sense in talking about it." And Greg's like, "Hey, please, I need to know. I need to talk about it if it made you uncomfortable." And so JV ends up saying, "Of course it made me uncomfortable. A man ain't supposed to." And then Greg ends up saying, "What? Wait, Dad, do you really believe?" And JV ends up saying, "What do you want me to say? This is all my fault." And Greg goes into it saying, "Dad, no one made me gay." And I have to say, I'm a little shocked at all this. A man isn't supposed to do things like that horse shit. If that's the way you feel, then. And that's when JV surprises the shit out of me by saying, "That ain't what I meant. I just meant it was my fault for not knocking before I came in, is all. I was trying to say a man ain't supposed to see his children in adult-like situations like that. Ought to be private. I'm sorry, son. It was rude of me, and I'm sorry if I scared that fellow away by how I reacted and all." And so Greg is like, "Oh." And he's kind of like has to sit down for a second. He's like, "I think," and JV's like, "Are you okay?" And Greg's like, "I think I just said I was gay out loud to my dad." Exhilarating, isn't it? I mean, when I first came out as transgender to my family, it was a thing. But I mean, obviously I have the best support in the world, so I'm happy. And it's just honestly, it's one of the biggest weights off your shoulder you could ever feel, and it's just like you feel like you can fly after that. Anyway, JV ends up saying, "Son, I've been your father for close to 70 years now. I guess I've known a bit longer than you have." And what he first said was, "Well, I figure it's about time you figured that out." And Greg's like, "Well, crap," you know. Anyway, JV has this really touching moment with Greg, and he says, "That fella in there, he a good guy, you think?" And Greg's like, "Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's really, really new." And JV has this beautiful moment of just clarity and support for his son by saying, "Well, don't overthink it then. Be happy. Be happy when you're happy. The pain will come if it comes, and it'll hurt whether you ever allowed yourself to be happy or not. Pain don't care about the past or the future, and neither should you. Go in with your eyes open now. You understand me? Don't just pick up anything and take it with you because you think you won't ever find anything else, or that you don't deserve better, or you ain't worth it. Because you are, son, worth it. And I'm proud of you. I don't say that enough, but I hope you boys know it. I'm gonna start crying, and it was just such a beautiful moment, especially for someone like someone like Greg, uh, because this could have turned out really bad. There's not always a lot of good coming out stories, and I'm sorry if I kind of sprung that up on y'all. I'm not trying to get like political or whatever. It's just I'm just talking about it, like whatever. I'm not gonna force anything on y'all. Anyway, JV continues to say, all this confusion you got right now, any mistakes you think you might have made, you gotta bury all that. Bury it and keep moving. Let the past get behind you, son. It's where it belongs. You shouldn't change none of it, and it ain't worth worrying about. But the future is always right there in front of you. And then now we jump to, after that beautiful moment, we jump to Bartlett and July standing outside of a house where July claims are the rest of the Bartletts. And so Bartlett's like, I don't understand. What do you mean this is my family? I died. I don't have any family. And that's when July says, please don't, people don't stop living because the bad things that happen to them, Life keeps going. It's kind of all it does. And Bartlett's like, why are you showing me this? And this is where July's like, well, I felt bad for killing you. And to answer your question, I am happy, Bartlett. I really like my life a lot. But it took me a really long time to get there. And eventually, what I came to realize was, well, I didn't ask to be born the first time around. It never stopped me from being happy then, and it's not going to stop me now. Essentially, he goes into saying, you saved my life. It's taken me a long time to wrap my head around that. But God's honest truth, whether I want to admit it or not, you loved me so much you wouldn't let me die. And that's what was so scary about it. And we see both of them kind of leaning in for a kiss, but then it cuts to 10 years later. First off, what? And then we see a very different looking July saying, are you sure about this? And that's when we see Bartlett with his mustache back again. Yes, no more baby face. And he says, hell, I ain't never been more sure of anything in my whole dumb life. And excuse the accent, July Bell, will you marry me? And I'm so excited for this going into the next story arc, because just whoa, I really can't wait. And so with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, drop a like, show the love, hit that subscribe button to get more of my videos, ring the bell to get notifications on when I post new videos, so that way you guys stay updated and don't miss out. And I know I kind of screwed up my outro, but whatever. And if you guys have any predictions or discussions you'd like to talk about this video or this issue, throw them down in the comments. I always welcome the conversations. And so with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.